hello. I am back with another episode. I have been gone for extremely too long, so please forgive me. I had some other business ventures that I have been embarking on, but I am back now. Just a quick side note. I don't think the devil wants me to hear the message I have for you all today because this is the third time that I'm recording this episode. Third time's a charm. We're going to get it done. We're going to execute it. But I don't think, he wants you guys to hear what I have to say to you today. But anyway, without further ado, let's jump into it. Today's episode title is Some Women Don't Need Another Relationship, They Need a Life. Now, ladies, please, please, please don't jump on my case. I love all my ladies, but I gotta level with y'all real quick, so I used to think that I needed love. What I really needed to do was sit the down. But on a serious note, I actually needed direction. And the moment I stopped chasing relationships, I realized I had no real life built outside of them. This episode may bother you because it's going to make you ask a question you've been avoiding. Do you actually want a relationship, or do you just not know how to sit with yourself? But before we get into it, hello, my healing hotties. My name is Mara Noir Sinclair, aka Amara, and welcome to Her Healing TV, a podcast where we don't just heal, we rebuild, rebrand, and reclaim who we are after dealing with trauma. This is where discipline meets divinity, where emotional control becomes power, and where transformation is intentional, not chaotic. So today we are talking about the moment I realized I wasn't lonely, not because I need love or I needed love. I was lonely because I didn't have a life that fulfilled me. I was blaming my partner at the time for being unhappy, but it wasn't, all his fault. He could only be who he was, and it wasn't fair for me to expect something from him that we both knew he couldn't live up to. I was also at fault for me not being happy. And the reason I say that is because I had nothing that fulfilled me outside of our relationship. I had no business about myself. I had nothing that I was building or working on that gave me purpose. Now, that isn't to say, relationships are bad, or we're not relationship bashing. This is about identity, purpose, and emotional dependency. By the end of this episode, you might not look at dating the same way again. So, back to me. I have always been a lover girl. I love everything about love. And this experience has taught me that I used to love others more than I loved myself. And I always fell in love with the other person first. Now, you can imagine how that's a huge problem. I was so thrown off mentally when I was dating that, that person is all that mattered. I lost sight of my own likes, desires, goals, etc. It was like I became that person, or tried to come as close as I could to resemble what that person liked. Now, all of this was done, of course, to make them happy. I was chasing attention from them. I was chasing being liked and adored. And that was my first mistake. That's the worst mistake you can ever make. Because, baby, I'm not chasing you for anything nowadays. I'm not begging for what I deserve. Simply put. So I was the type that I would sit there hopelessly, waiting for the next chance to communicate. I used to put people on a pedestal before they even showed me that they deserved to be up there. I read a book called The Shift by Tinks, and she taught me that we typically put people on a pedestal, or we start romanticizing our life with them, and they didn't even show us anything to be up there. They have no business being up there in the first place. So I definitely learned a good lesson from that book. But yeah, I used to put people on pedestal before they even showed me that they deserve to be there. And I'm talking about waiting for texts and phone calls, scrolling through text messages, rereading them, thinking about that person, overthinking what they were doing, just letting my mind wander in the craziest places and thoughts. Just all kinds of foolishness. I've done pop-ups, drive-bys, and all kind of stuff I wouldn't be caught dead doing today. I also realized that a lot of this stuff, it came with age. It came with age. Majority of this behavior happened while I was younger, but at the end of the day, it happened. And that is why I'm here today, to help the next woman, the next person, the next generation avoid what we call the relationship trap. And when I say relationship trap, I mean the feeling that you need or have to have someone to exist. Now, don't get me wrong, there is nothing wrong with being in a relationship, especially a good one. So if that is you, hold on to that. Understand that only some of this stuff may apply to you. But for those of you who are in a new relationship or have a new significant other every 6 months to a year, baby, this is for you. Ears perk up. Listen, the emotional truth is that I thought I was in love, but I was actually unstructured. My life revolved around a person and people who weren't building anything with me. And then one day, I had a turning point. That turning point happened when, you guys know Italian Jit from previous episodes. He walked out of the home that we shared together. Remember, I just had a baby. He was doing all kind of foolishness. He walked out of the home that we had together. And I remember sitting there and realizing, now that this relationship was removed from my life, I had nothing that I was actively building. That is what we called a realization shift. It's when the dumbness, immaturity, and ignorance leaves your body. Basically, what that means is you are breaking the pattern. I realized that I was never truly in love with any of these people that I was in a relationship with. That was lack of direction. That's all that was. That was me trying to fill a void. That was me trying to feel loved and wanted. I was over investing in my relationships, and here's why. Number one, the main reason, it was avoidance of purpose. So sometimes we distract ourselves from setting and obtaining goals and purpose so that we don't have to deal with the pressure of failing. We will often put that energy into something or someone else. This was me. I was so hyper-focused on my ex's dreams and goals that I put mine aside. In my head, I was being a good girlfriend. I was being the great girlfriend. Whole time, I was actually afraid of figuring out what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And I'm so super resourceful. I have a superhero complex. And as a Leo, most of us do. We typically attract broken souls because we feel like we can fix them. These relationships were just a distraction for me. It helped me deflect from reality and pretty much avoid putting my big girl panties on. Because I've had so many business ventures and ideas, and some of them I've tried and failed. Some of them never saw the light of day. I just think I don't like the fear of failing. So focusing on someone else's needs and issues and goals, etc., it kept me super busy. Busy enough that I had no time to think about myself. And in a way, I was self-sabotaging. I didn't know, who I was anymore, which brings me to the second reason I had overinvested in my relationships. It was lack of identity. I had no purpose because I had no person. And I'm going to say that again. I had no purpose because I had no person. Like I stated earlier, I didn't know who I was. I had changed myself so much to resemble whatever it was that person wanted me to be that I had completely lost myself. And once you lose yourself, it's hard to shake back. This is when, you start accepting things that you normally wouldn't. You start second guessing and questioning yourself and your existence. Lack of identity is a mean cycle to get caught in because it keeps you lost. It keeps you broken and toxic. Like, for example, I would never stay with a man that feels the need to cheat. You can say whatever you want. You can spin it however you want. A man who is truly in love with you will never entertain or cheat with someone else. And that is just how I see it. I don't care. Argue with your mama. But with lack of identity, you start to claim the thoughts and behaviors of the person you are dealing with or the person you're in a relationship with. So if they feel that it's okay to entertain or cheat, they will plant in your head that idea. And when you don't know who you are, you'll believe it. You will believe what they're telling you. And at that point, you are so far gone that the only thing you can do is cling to that person and the identity you created around them. You cling to it for dear life, which drives you deeper into that cycle of lost identity. And then you are back at square one. That lack of identity cycle, it will lead you to what we call, and this is number 3, emotional dependency disguised as connection. The connection you think you have is actually a trauma bond or a trauma cord that ties or tethers you to the person you are in a relationship or a trauma bond with. This cord is what keeps you tied to that person, even when the relationship is in straight shambles. You will start to depend on that cord more and more. And let me go back. You will start to depend on that cord the more and more you lose yourself. The more you lose yourself, the more you depend on that cord that you have tethered with this person. And what that looked like for me was I would get sick of the relationship. You know what I'm saying? I would get tired of arguing, feeling like I was forcing things, overthinking, being disrespected, etc. And so I would pull my energy back. But once I realized that the relationship might come to an end, I would grab those ropes again, and I held on even tighter and tighter. Each time I held on tighter for dear life. And I felt like I needed that person to survive or needed them just to be okay for the day. And in the back of my mind, I knew that this wasn't right. And what I was holding on to had no future. I knew that this relationship had no future. And I think that toxic loop was mistaken for love. You know, in our generation or in our minds, we think that arguing, fighting, threatening, pulling up, acting out, etc., we think that translates into love. I know grown women who think that, and these are women who aren't in a relationship with the man that they're talking to, but they think that this grown man showing up to their home because they didn't answer the phone means that that man cares or loves them. In reality, that man lacks personal boundaries. You actually think about it, there may be several reasons why this woman didn't answer the phone. Nobody should take it upon themselves. It's not their place to take it upon themselves to ignore someone else's personal boundaries. That is a red flag, ladies. That is a red flag that should be acknowledged by any sex, gender, whatever. You need to acknowledge that because it's not okay. That is control, not love. And the bottom line is that a lot of us women, we don't need better men. We need a better relationship with our own lives. The better our relationship with our own selves and our own lives, you won't even come in contact with the type of men that you've been attracting. Okay, so let's talk about what happens when you build a life of your own. We're about to get into that, actually. Let's unpack that. It's called a wake-up call. It's time for a wake-up call, sister, or my mister, whoever's listening. The standards you have will for sure change and rise to meet you where you are. We don't dumb down. We make things rise to where we are. You will be so surprised at how many bullets you dodge once this happens. So I'm about to put y'all in my business. I mean, you guys have been in my business this entire episode, but whatever. I'm about to put you in my business a little bit more. So I had a guy about like a week ago ask me for my number, and he seemed like a really cool guy. So I went for it. Plus, he had been eyeing me since like December of last year. So I was like, let me see what he's about. Now, typically, I don't date people I work with because You just don't where you eat. I've never done it, but he piqued my interest. So anyway, we started, texting, and he even was like calling randomly. It was great. It was cool. But what I noticed is that because I had built a routine around my life, my goals, my business, I wasn't sweating him like he thought I would. And what I mean by that is, you guys know I meal prep. You guys know I go to the gym. I spend time with my kids. I have so many things going on that me texting him or us talking a little bit wasn't changing majority of my day, or wasn't changing anything with my day. I still was focused on my business. So turns out other people don't like that. So one of the last conversations we had, he said, I can't wait for you to meet me outside of these text messages and this job. Like, baby girl, I'm him. My brain automatically, y'all, it automatically skip. Like, automatically. Needless to say, like, I haven't talked to him since then, because if you were really him, you wouldn't need to feel the need to project that on me. Like, you would just be you. You know what I'm saying? But because I wasn't sweating him like he thought I was, he felt the need to remind me, oh, I'm him. Oh, I'm such a great guy, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. But yeah, when you build a life of your own, your attachment to others will start to lower, which then increases your peace. In my mind, I'm like, this is in addition to what I have going on. I get to choose if I want to deal with you or not. I don't have to. So, your decisions become less emotional, and it becomes easier to decide whether to remove people or not to get involved with them at all. And that's the beauty of building your own life, because you got your own motion. You got your own thing going on. You know what I'm saying? Just remember, when your life is lit with all that you have going on, love becomes an addition, not a rescue plan.